Hello and welcome to Rebelle 7. Rebelle 7 continues the tradition of making new ways to make creating beautiful art more true to life, feel more like that traditional experience that you're used to, as well as giving us better tools to make our artwork the best it can be. Now, I am in love with this new version of Rebelle. Rebelle 7 has some features that I've wanted for a long time, so we're going to jump right in. Rebelle 7 Pro includes these beautiful new metallics. So here you can see metallic paint and regular oils here on the same canvas, how beautifully they combine together. You can turn off and on the metallics per layer. Rebelle 7 Pro has nanopixel, which takes your regular canvas that looks like pixels and turns it into this beautiful lifelike canvas that you can zoom in to a near microscopic level, seeing the actual fibers of the paper. I was playing around with the new brushes in Rebelle 7, and this is the first time I felt like they behaved exactly the way I expected them to behave. They cut in where I wanted them to cut in. The textures they created were beautiful. They were not generic. They weren't stamps. They were as if I was using an actual brush. You had all these lovely, gritty, grungy effects that were happening that just made it feel so organic and deep and rich. I'm going to demonstrate some of that for you in just a moment, but I want to talk a little bit more about the metallic materials. So we're going to open up visual settings. Here you can see we can adjust the amount of reflectivity. We can adjust the scale and get a different feel just by sliding this slider, increasing the strength and decreasing the strength. You can even lock the reflectivity. The reflectivity here and with it unlocked. So if you get to a spot and you're like, that looks perfect, I love the way the light is bouncing off the paint, you can lock it. And you know when you go to export, it's going to look exactly like it does right now. I love having this off because just seeing the reflections on the paint is so satisfying. In order to use the new metallics, you go into visual settings, turn on nanopixel, and then over here in the layers panel, there's this little diamond shape, and you're going to click on that. That's going to turn on and off the metallic materials on the layer. So you can see right here, clicking on this color library icon, you can see the metallic color set. Double click on that to load it. Then right down here you can see these different colors. Let's show the color names. And here you can see this beautiful new color palette has the options of turning on and off various settings, just a click. So here you can see the different colors. Let's use some gold. I have the rake. We're going to turn on bright. Let's use ruby. I really like this. This rake, notice how this actually pushes the paint. Let's use aquamarine. You can see it cutting through. Here's a couple of the metallic brushes that I really like. This one creates these really incredible textures. These knives, and notice here how the thickness of the paint responds correctly as you're painting over one layer. Look at how the rake works. And because this is layer specific, you can turn that option off at any point. Drawing and painting in Rebelle 7 feels different than it used to in Rebelle 6. And that's because of a new ray tracing process that uses the actual bumps and textures of the paper in order to create a realistic height map. Which means It's going to feel way more natural. It's going to respond the way that we have been hoping and wanting it to respond in the past. Here with light pressure, you can see we're painting right on the ridges, the highest points of the paint. Over here on the canvas, with heavy pressure, we're filling in. Just add a little watercolor here at the top. I want you to see the improvements here, how it goes in between the high points, using the textures and the impasto to define where that paint is going to go. Our Rebelle 7 uses actual height information on each of these papers, and since it does that, using a different type of paper is going to make more of a difference than it ever has in the past. So if you want to change your paper, we're going to click here in Layers on the bottom right. Rebelle 7 comes with a handful of papers by default. Right now we're using the EX25 Hemp Smooth. This one has this little icon here with the 3 dots in it. You can see on this paper, there's a variety of colors in here. It's not just a single color. Here, if we go in and we change the color, this is going to affect all of the colors that are in here. That color information isn't lost. It's adjusted with the new paper color. Let's pick our washi paper. You can see the little tiny fibers here. Now if we paint here with different background canvas information, you notice that this one is going to look different when it diffuses because it has different information. Let's do this one more time. Let's do that same thing. And you'll notice that each one has a different look, a different experience, a different feeling. Now these ones here without the 3 dots, these are monochromatic, and these ones with the 3 dots in it, these are full color. They have some absolutely beautiful art surfaces and canvases for you to check out. You can click here and see how different processes work on this paper, what it looks like when you're drawing on this archival paper, watercolor on the paper, what does it look like, how does it work, what are the textures like. So you can find out more information there on their website. Here you'll notice they use paper height maps. That is on by default in Rebelle 7. In addition to the canvases now using the height maps with ray tracing, there are now structures. Let's take a look at this new feature. The keyboard shortcut is Shift S. I've got a couple structures from my own personal library in here that I want to show you. This is a maple leaf. This reminds me of being a child, doing these type of things in art class. So I'm going to lightly use this charcoal brush right over the top, and you can see this relief texture, the structure of the leaf coming right through. This is showing the canvas and the structure of the leaf. The height of the ridges of that leaf are being preserved as we gently caress the top of the canvas with our brush. Let's look at another image here. I want you to see the fine details here. This is so much fun and really useful for a lot of different types of art. Okay, we're going to hide these 2 things, and I'm going to show you something that I think is extremely exciting. Now this structure of an acrylic pour is going to do some amazing things for us. Let's tap to the side. You're going to see that structure has been set here. Let's go into our brushes. I love this gouache filbert. We're going to make sure that we're on a new layer. Let's turn metallics on. And there is some magic that's about to happen. This is incredible. All right, now watch this. Add some water over the top. We're going to use a gouache flat here to push some of these colors along. All right, this is good enough. Look at how stunning this is. The structures engine, the ability to do this is going to open up some incredible possibilities for artists. Look at how beautiful that is. While we have structures open, let's look at another feature in the brush creator. I'm going to draw right over the top. We have water set at 13, so this is going to diffuse out. Let's bring water all the way down to 1 so that we don't have any diffusion going on. And what I want you to see is how this is smudging across the bumps on the texture. This will also smudge on the bumps of the canvas. And let's look at that setting in the brush creator. Now if we go down here to the bottom, you'll see smudge on paper bumps. This is adjustable by pressure and by speed. This is really cool and really adds to that rich organic feel that this software has. The fill and gradient tool has been dramatically improved with patterns, with gradients. We're going to select the layer by control clicking on it, and we're going to fill with a gradient. And let's deselect. Now you can do the same thing and fill with a pattern. So let's choose fill, use pattern. Let's choose these arches. Let's make a selection. And then we're going to fill it with a pattern. One of the additions that I'm really excited about is the ruler tool. It has a couple new things in it that I think are really helpful. Let's go ahead and grab a pencil. And we're going to turn on the new ellipse tool. Here, we're going to draw a circle. Let's move this circle over here. Let's shrink the circle from center using this left option. Let's expand it out. We're going to contract it. Let's rotate. This is really cool. But there's an additional feature. This one is called parallel lines. This works also with the straight line tool. So here we can move the straight line, pivot the points, but we can also use the parallel lines tool and draw anywhere on the screen. And it'll stay locked to the original line. Rebelle 7 now has filter layers. In the very bottom right corner, there's this new filter layer option. Let's choose brightness and contrast. I'm going to double click here on the icon. And let's move this up here. Now you can see I can affect the layers underneath this. So if we bring this down in between these two layers, we can affect the non-metallic layer. Let's add another one. Choose desaturate. We're going to bring this one above. You can turn them on or off. They're non-destructive. This gives you a lot more power in getting that exact feel that you want. Rebelle 7 has improved papers, beautiful colors that you can adjust. The height of the bumps on the paper play a realistic role in how you paint. You have structures that add more depth, more texture, more feel to the paintings that you're doing. On top of that, the new brush creator has added a handful of extremely powerful dual brush functions. So here you'll notice the brush creator looks different. There is now a textures tab with the ability to work off of height, linear height. You have all these different modes with all of these settings. Has given the ability for Rebelle 7 to have some of the most beautiful brushes you can imagine. There's over 250 brushes available in Rebelle 7, with many of those being dramatically overhauled to give you the best painting experience possible. Let's take a look at a couple of these. Here I have one of the new watercolors. Notice that it's smudging on the bumps of the paper. If we drop the water here, you'll notice that this smudging effect stays right where it was. We'll bring the water level up. As it diffuses, you can see that it pushes out past those into the valleys of the paper. I'm going to switch from a watercolor brush. I'm going to switch to an HB pencil. Now notice I was just on blue, and as soon as I switch to the pencil tool, this is now a pencil color. This can be done in the brush creator by using a default color. So you can set the default color when you switch to that brush. It'll go to that color every single time. Once you're there on that brush, you want to pick another color. Just tap the color and it'll switch over. When you come back to it, it'll be gray again. The pencils have been reworked, as most of the dry media has been reworked to give a more realistic feel. I'm such a big fan of the new oil brushes. These feel so much more realistic, the way that they interact with the impasto. This one I mentioned earlier is one of my favorites. I love this texture. There's new ink brushes. And I am a big fan of the new charcoal brushes. You'll notice that these have this little bit of misty grain on the outside of the brush that shows up only when you push hard. This gives that worked paper feel, like your palm has been on the paper and it's pushed around some of the charcoal. Rebelle 7's new brush engine allows for infinite possibilities. There are so many different things that you can do to make these brushes your own, customize them to do exactly what you want them to do. There's a handful of different changes to the UI. Let's say you never use flat brushes. You can go up here and uncheck flat brushes. You won't see it in this list anymore, and it shows that one is hidden. You can turn these on or off. Favorites now have folders, so you can create different groups. The color panel has been completely redone to give you a lot more options of turning on and off just the things that you need, being able to customize this quickly. Color library now has a number of different options. Double-clicking will load any of these different color sets. You can see these true pigment names listed right here. So if you're watching a tutorial and they're using gold ochre, and you want to use gold ochre, you can just select it right here and start painting immediately, seeing the correct color on the screen the way it's supposed to look. With pigments, you can get the exact mix. If you blend those two colors together, you're going to get the same result or almost the same result as if you were doing this with pigments on a real canvas. Now, Rebelle 7 is available both for Mac and for PC. You'll be excited to hear that on Mac, Rebelle 7 has been fully optimized for the M chip. This is to ensure a responsive and efficient painting experience. That's it for this quick introduction to some of the new features inside of Rebelle 7. There'll be more videos coming with a more in-depth look at these new features, how to use them, how to adjust the settings, what those settings are, and more. If you prefer a written guide, there's a PDF for Rebelle 7 available at the link in the description. If you have any questions, feel free to put those in the comment section below. If you're not a subscriber yet, click the subscribe button right now, click the like button, and share this video with your friends who love to paint. This is one of the most rewarding, satisfying painting experiences I've ever experienced in my life. I look forward to playing around and painting and drawing inside of Rebelle 7 more than I have in any program I've ever used. I'm excited for you to try it as well. Go to the website right now, download the free trial, and get started today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.